Katt Williams, 50 Cent, and Jada Pinkett Smith, what made this situation different was not just criticism or online jokes. It was the idea that two outspoken figures were now moving in the same direction, questioning the public image that Jada had carefully built for decades. The focus was not just on one event, but on a pattern about power, control, and who gets to shape the story in Hollywood. For years, Jada Pinkett Smith has been seen as strong, calm, and deeply thoughtful in public. Through interviews, red carpet moments, and especially her show Red Table Talk, she created an image of honesty and healing. She spoke openly about relationships, pain, growth, and personal truth. Many people respected that. They saw her as brave for sharing personal struggles in front of the world. But Katt Williams began to question whether that openness was always as simple as it seemed. Katt Williams, known for his sharp comedy and fearless style, changed his tone in recent years. His stand-up specials became less about jokes and more about calling out systems of power. He spoke about Hollywood as a closed circle. He talked about gatekeepers. He questioned why some people face fast consequences while others seem protected no matter what happens. When he mentioned Jada Pinkett Smith, he did not focus on gossip, he focused on influence. One of the biggest topics Katt raised was Jada's long connection to Tupac Shakur. For decades, Jada has spoken about Tupac as her soulmate and deep spiritual friend. In her memoir and interviews, she described him as someone who understood her in a way no one else could. Many fans accepted this story as a tragic and beautiful bond. But Katt Williams asked a direct question. If that bond was so deep, why was there distance during Tupac's most difficult moments? In 1995, Tupac was in prison at Clinton Correctional Facility. Later, Suge Knight paid $1.4 million in bail to secure his release in exchange for a deal with Death Row Records. That part is public record. What Katt questioned was not proven refusal or confirmed action by Jada. Instead, he questioned the public story. He asked why the narrative of deep love grew stronger after Tupac passed away, rather than during the time when he was facing real danger. Katt suggested that legacy can become powerful currency. Being connected to a legend like Tupac carries emotional weight. It creates respect. It builds status. He implied that Jada's constant presence in Tupac-related films and documentaries helped keep her close to that legacy. He was not accusing her of crimes, he was questioning motives. He was asking whether the public story was shaped to protect an image. At the same time, 50 Cent was fighting his own battles in Hollywood. Through his production company and media projects, he built a reputation as someone who does not stay quiet. He uses social media as a weapon. He posts, deletes, jokes, and pushes narratives in ways that keep attention locked on his page. When he began echoing some of Katt's ideas, the situation grew louder. One of the biggest moments in recent years connected to Jada was the Red Table Talk episode about the entanglement with August Alsina. In July 2020, the world watched as Will Smith sat across from Jada and discussed their separation and her relationship with August. The word entanglement became viral. Some viewers saw honesty, others saw humiliation. Katt Williams later described that moment as more than a confession. He suggested it was a controlled setting. On Red Table Talk, Jada had the home advantage. It was her platform. The lighting, the pacing, the tone, all centered around her voice. Will Smith appeared emotional and quiet. To Katt, that was not just openness, it was power. He argued that when you control the microphone, you control the story. 50 Cent took it further. On social media, he joked about Will's facial expressions and body language. He implied that the situation made Will look weak. He posted memes and clips that framed Jada as the dominant figure in the relationship. Whether fair or not, those posts spread fast. The internet reacts quickly to humor, and once laughter begins, public perception can shift. Another major turning point was the 2022 Oscars incident involving Chris Rock. When Chris Rock made a joke about Jada's shaved head, Will Smith walked on stage and slapped him. The moment shocked the world. Some defended Will as protecting his wife. Others felt it crossed a line. Katt Williams later analyzed that moment carefully. He pointed out that Will laughed at first. Then he looked at Jada. Then his mood changed. Katt suggested that the look between them carried weight. He described it as silent pressure. 50 Cent also spoke about this idea. He argued that the slap hurt Will's career more than anyone else's. Will faced a 10-year ban from the Oscars and lost major projects. Jada, on the other hand, did not face official punishment. To critics, that imbalance felt important. In 2023 and beyond, more details about Will and Jada's separation became public. Jada confirmed that they had been separated since 2016. That meant for years they appeared together publicly while living separate lives privately. Katt Williams framed this as brand protection. He suggested the image of a united couple was part of a larger strategy tied to business and influence. The Smith family is more than a couple. It is a business empire connected to film projects, production companies, and brand partnerships. Public image affects money. Money affects power. When Katt and 50 talk about exposure, they're not just talking about romance. They're talking about systems. They're asking how much of Hollywood runs on image management rather than raw truth. 50 Cent has experience challenging those systems. Challenging powerful figures. His documentary projects and online campaigns show that he enjoys testing the limits of influence. When he hinted that he had unseen footage or inside stories, it created suspense. Even if no tape was released, the suggestion alone stirred conversation. In the digital age, suggestion can be as powerful as proof. Katt Williams uses a different method. He stands on stage and speaks directly to a live audience. He mixes humor with serious tone. He names names. He builds stories slowly, making the crowd laugh while also planting questions. When he talks about gatekeepers in Hollywood, he describes a small circle that decides who rises and who falls. He claims that stepping outside that circle comes with cost. According to Katt, Jada is deeply connected within that circle. He describes her as someone who knows how to navigate rooms filled with power. He suggests that she understands how to maintain strong ties with studio leaders, public relations teams, and media outlets. In his view, this network offers protection, but protection does not mean silence from everyone. Social media changed the rules. Figures like 50 Cent do not need approval from major networks. They can speak directly to millions. Katt Williams also built a loyal fan base that listens closely to his words. Together, their voices create pressure. The larger question behind all of this is simple. Who controls the narrative? When a scandal happens, who decides how it is framed? Jada's strength has often been her ability to speak first. Through Red Table Talk, she addressed rumors on her own terms. That level of access is rare. It allows someone to shape public emotion before outside voices take control. Critics argue that this is not wrongdoing, it is smart branding. Supporters say she has every right to tell her story her way. Others believe that constant control over the microphone can block deeper questioning. The truth likely sits somewhere in between. As 2026 continues, the tension between image and exposure remains strong. Katt Williams keeps speaking about honesty in Hollywood. 50 Cent keeps posting and challenging powerful names. Jada Pinkett Smith continues appearing calm in interviews, speaking about healing and growth. Will Smith remains mostly quiet, focusing on selective projects and public appearances. The public stands divided. Some see Katt and 50 as truth-tellers breaking down illusions. Others see them as entertainers stirring drama for attention. Some defend Jada as a woman unfairly targeted. Others question whether her influence has shielded her from consequences that others might face. What makes this story powerful is not just celebrity gossip. It touches deeper themes about loyalty, marriage, fame, and reputation. It shows how quickly public opinion can swing. It shows how humor can challenge power. It shows how image management shapes careers. In the end, no courtroom verdict has declared guilt or innocence. There are no legal charges tied to these claims. There are opinions, interviews, jokes, posts, and reactions. There are questions about timing, motives, and narrative control. The alliance between Katt Williams and 50 Cent represents a challenge to established influence. Whether that challenge leads to lasting change remains uncertain. Hollywood has always been built on stories. Some are written for film, others are written in headlines. The battle over Jada Pinkett Smith's image is not just about one person. It reflects a shift in how fame works in the age of direct communication. When comedians and rappers with massive followings speak openly, they bypass traditional filters. The coming months will likely determine whether this remains a loud moment or becomes a turning point. Will new evidence appear? Will more insiders speak? Or will the story fade as attention moves elsewhere? One thing is clear: the conversation about power and narrative in Hollywood is not going away. The situation stands as a reminder that fame offers visibility but also invites scrutiny. Every action, every look, every word becomes part of a larger story, and in today's world, that story can be challenged from many directions at once. As the conversation intensified, the focus began shifting from individual moments to long-term patterns. The names at the center, Katt Williams, 50 Cent, and Jada Pinkett Smith, were no longer just trending topics. They became symbols in a larger debate about celebrity power and accountability. Katt's core argument has consistently revolved around selective protection. In multiple interviews, he's claimed that Hollywood does not treat everyone equally. Some figures, he says, are quickly blackballed for stepping out of line, while others maintain access despite controversy. He frames this as a system, not a coincidence. When discussing Jada, he often returns to influence. He doesn't accuse her of crimes. Instead, he questions how narratives surrounding her family have been managed over the years. He points to the way stories are introduced, discussed, and resolved, often on platforms where she has significant control, such as Red Table Talk. That control of environment became a major talking point again after renewed debates about the 2022 Oscars moment involving Will Smith and Chris Rock. While Will publicly apologized and faced industry consequences, including an Academy ban, critics argue that Jada's role in the cultural aftermath was less scrutinized. Supporters counter that she was the subject of a joke about a medical condition and did not ask anyone to react violently. This divide fuels the current narrative. On one side are those who believe Katt and 50 are simply amplifying uncomfortable questions. On the other are those who see the commentary as opportunistic, leveraging controversy for clicks, engagement, and brand growth. 50 Cent's involvement adds a different energy. Unlike Katt, who frames his critiques through long-form commentary and stand-up, 50 uses brevity and social media timing. A meme, a caption, a repost, small sparks that ignite massive reaction. His strategy thrives on virality. When he aligns publicly with a criticism, it signals that the topic has crossed into mainstream digital culture. Another layer resurfaced when Jada's 2023 memoir, Worthy, brought renewed attention to her marriage timeline. She revealed that she and Will had been separated for years before the Oscars incident. That admission reshaped earlier perceptions of unity. For some observers, it reinforced Katt's broader claim that public image often masks complex private realities. But context matters. Celebrity marriages have long balanced privacy with publicity. From red carpet appearances to joint ventures, image cohesion can be both emotional and financial. The Smith brand, spanning film production, media investments, and global partnerships, represents decades of strategic positioning. Public fractures can affect that ecosystem. Katt argues that this ecosystem is exactly why narratives are tightly managed. He frequently describes Hollywood as a chessboard, where every move is calculated. In his view, silence is rarely accidental, timing is rarely random. However, there is still no verified evidence of wrongdoing, only interpretations of media strategy and influence. That distinction is important. Commentary about power dynamics is different from proof of misconduct. The conversation lives largely in perception, not court documents. Meanwhile, public fatigue plays a role. Audiences are increasingly skeptical of polished celebrity storytelling. They gravitate toward figures who appear raw or unfiltered. Katt's blunt delivery appeals to that sentiment. 50 Cent's unapologetic tone reinforces it. Together, they tap into a cultural appetite for transparency, or at least the appearance of it. Jada's supporters argue that she has always been transparent, just on her own terms. They point out that speaking openly about separation, infidelity, and personal growth is rare at her level of fame. They say framing that openness as manipulation dismisses the vulnerability it required. The deeper issue may not be about one person at all. It may be about who the public trusts in 2026. Traditional media once shaped celebrity narratives almost entirely. Now, podcasts, Instagram Lives, and viral clips compete for dominance. Power is more distributed, but also more chaotic. Would there be a new lease agreement? Would the co-hosts step forward publicly? As of the last updates in late February 2026, none of those answers were officially confirmed. One important detail remained at the center of legal discussion. In New York City, removing a tenant usually requires a formal court process. Even if rent is overdue and a lease is terminated, landlords often need a judge's approval before enforcing eviction. That means the hallway footage might not tell the full legal story. Without public court records, it is impossible to know exactly where the process stood at that moment. At the same time, perception often moves faster than law. To the public, the visual was simple: a locked door, a man kicking it open, a lease notice saying the agreement was over. That image alone shaped opinions. Many people do not wait for court documents before forming views. Social media moves in real time. The Monday deadline that 50 Cent mentioned became another talking point. He wrote that the doors would need to be fixed by Monday. When that date passed without dramatic updates, some viewers wondered if the statement was more about pressure than enforcement. Deadlines create urgency. Urgency keeps people watching. Behind the scenes, real money was involved. Alleged back rent figures between $80,000 and $180,000 are serious amounts. Running a creative space in the Bronx is not cheap. Equipment, staff, rent, and utilities can quickly become heavy burdens. Even successful artists can face cash flow issues when projects do not bring steady income. For Let's Rap About It, the situation carried risk. The studio was more than a location, it was part of the brand image. Losing it would mean rebuilding production somewhere else. That takes time and planning. At the same time, the viral attention could also increase interest in the show. More views, more clicks, more curiosity. This is where the situation becomes layered. On one side, there is real business stress. On the other side, there is free publicity. Jim Jones leaned into the publicity angle. By writing that he was figuring out what to promote while the spotlight was on him, he showed awareness of how fast attention moves. In the digital era, a viral moment can boost streams, ticket sales, and podcast numbers. For 50 Cent, the situation strengthened his brand as someone who mixes entertainment with business strategy. He did not shout, he did not rant, he posted documents and photos. He positioned himself as someone who sees moves ahead. Whether or not every claim was legally finalized, the presentation was confident. The broader hip-hop audience watched carefully because both figures have long histories in the culture. Both have built careers over decades. Seeing them clash over property instead of music shows how the industry has evolved. Today, disputes are not only about lyrics, they are about ownership, contracts, and leverage. There is also a lesson here about visibility. When business issues become public, they change shape. A private payment dispute can turn into a public reputation battle overnight. Once footage is online, it cannot be taken back. Once documents are posted, screenshots live forever. As February came to an end, no confirmed lawsuits or criminal charges had surfaced in major media. That left the story open-ended. It felt like a season finale without a final scene. The audience had seen the confrontation, the response, and the power move, but the resolution remained out of sight. What happens next will depend on actions taken away from cameras. Will there be a new contract signed? Will the podcast relocate? Will official ownership papers confirm the claims made online? Those answers require patience. For now, the heated footage stands as one of the biggest viral moments of early 2026. It shows how quickly narratives can form. It shows how strategy and humor can compete in the same space. It shows that in modern hip-hop culture, business and branding are just as powerful as bars and beats. The IFC factory remains more than a building. It represents ambition, conflict, and the risks of building something big in a high-cost city. The hallway clip may fade from timelines, but the lessons about leverage and image will stay relevant. In the end, both men walked away with something. 50 Cent reinforced his image as calculated and fearless in business. Jim Jones reinforced his image as calm and creative under pressure. The door that was kicked open became a symbol of a larger fight about respect, control, and narrative. The cameras captured one moment. The internet turned it into a story. The full outcome is still being written, and until official documents or agreements appear, the final chapter remains unwritten.